This tragic story shocked all of Greece and became a symbol of the crime of the century. Had it not been for a series of horrifying coincidences, this case might have remained unsolved. Rula Pisperigu was born in 1989 in the city of Patras, Greece. She had a younger sister, Dimitra, who was 8 years her junior. The sisters spent most of their childhood under the care of their grandparents. Rula was characterized as a rebellious girl with a strong personality. She received medical training to become a nurse, but never worked in that profession. Throughout her life, Rula tried her hand at several professions. However, her greatest passion was for soccer. While working as a soccer referee, she met her future husband, Manos Daskalakis, who was then playing as a goalkeeper. Rula fell madly in love with him. At the time of their meeting, Manos was a 19-year-old young man, while Rula was already 22. Their relationship quickly developed, and soon the girl became pregnant, prompting them to make the decision to marry. Manos's parents were against this marriage, as they were concerned not only about Rula's peculiar behavior, but also about the fact that she was 3 years older than their son. Despite all the objections, Manos and Rula got married in 2012, after which they had a daughter, Georgina, who also had a passion for soccer. Her mother took her to training sessions. In 2015, a second daughter was born, whom they named Melina. The family with 2 children appeared happy, but behind the closed doors of their home, serious problems were unfolding. The couple began to argue more frequently. Rula suffered from depression and made 2 unsuccessful suicide attempts. But the grief did not end there. On April 13, 2019, their tiny daughter Melina passed away at the age of 3.5 years. She was hospitalized in a children's hospital with symptoms of a rare disease. The doctors assured that this form of leukemia was completely treatable. Melina seemed to have overcome the illness and was supposed to return home. However, no signs indicated the impending tragedy. Rula spent time with her daughter in the hospital. On that fateful day, Saturday, April 13, 2019, the child felt great. Melina had a good appetite and enjoyed the skewers her parents brought her. But everything changed abruptly when her father left the room. According to Rula, after her husband left, they lay down to sleep. An hour later, a nurse woke them to administer medication. 10 minutes later, at 4:40 p.m., the child began to tremble, struggled to breathe, and fell into a seizure. The mother, trying to save her daughter, called out, "Melina, Melina!" This proved to be futile, so she ran to summon the nurses. They tried to help the girl, but it was already too late. Melina had died. The coroner determined that the cause of death was liver failure and pulmonary edema. The family experienced intense grief. However, the parents rallied, and their marriage became stronger. In 2021, the couple had a third child, Iris. It seemed they were happy again, and nothing could disrupt their well-being. However, just 6 months later, the baby died. Iris passed away in her sleep in March 2021, while in the same room as Georgina. According to the findings of the forensic examination, the baby died from sinus node agenesis, degeneration of heart cells that led to cardiac arrest. This condition typically occurs in older individuals, but it is extremely rare in children. Doctors considered it a congenital pathology. It turned out that on the night of the tragedy, Rula's sister Dimitra was with her, and the women were sleeping together. Around 7:30 a.m., Iris woke up. The mother got up and gave her a pacifier, after which they both fell asleep again. When at 11 o'clock, they entered the nursery to wake Iris, they found that she showed no signs of life. Rula, overwhelmed with panic, called her husband, pleading for him to come quickly to help while she attempted to perform CPR. However, after several unsuccessful attempts, she decided to call an ambulance, but only after an hour. The arriving paramedics pronounced the child dead. Her body was already cold, and the process of rigor mortis had begun. The second death of a child raised numerous questions about the mother. Why did Rula explain her actions by saying she was confused and only realized the necessity of calling the doctors an hour later? The family was left with one child, Georgina, the older daughter. The relationship between the spouses was very strained even before Iris's death, and this grief only pushed them further apart. The problems in the family only intensified, and they were heading toward divorce. The older daughter also began to have health issues. 15 days after Iris's death, Georgina was hospitalized with seizures. The doctors fought for her life for 40 minutes, and through extraordinary efforts, she managed to regain consciousness. She was diagnosed with heart failure, after which a defibrillator and pacemaker were implanted. Following this, the girl remained under medical supervision and was hospitalized several more times with a diagnosis of encephalopathy of unclear etiology. Georgina exhibited seizures, the causes of which could not be determined. The doctors conducted a neurological examination, and it was decided to transfer the girl to another clinic. But suddenly, on January 29, 2022, 9-year-old Georgina died. This tragedy shocked many. The girl's death was a real blow, as she had no health problems. When medical personnel attempted to save the child, her mother, Rula Pisperigu, suddenly announced that the girl had died and asked to stop all efforts. Georgina will not come back. She has suffered, and it's better for her to rest now, the woman said, astonishing the medics with her indifference. A few hours after Georgina's death, Rula shared her thoughts on social media. "I gave birth to you. I gave you life. But I am angry at you for leaving me with this emptiness. You were my support, the reason for my laughter, my strength in hard times. You fought until the end. You laughed, and in your eyes, we saw hope. Goodbye, my dear. I hope you find peace with your sisters. You never really left me." This woman had already gotten a tattoo in honor of her children. The first appeared after Georgina's birth, and the following ones were in memory of the 2 younger daughters who also died. The deaths of the 3 girls seemed suspicious. They left this world one after another within 3 years. None of the 3 cases suggested a quick departure from life, as doctors had initially been optimistic about their recoveries and later shocked by the fatal outcomes. This raised numerous questions among everyone who was aware of the situation. Some claimed that the Pisperigu family was cursed, believing their misfortunes were caused by supernatural forces. However, medical professionals did not take this version seriously and requested the police to conduct an investigation. Experts focused their attention on the death of the older girl, Georgina, as they had all the necessary information in her body for further research. Investigators began interviewing the doctors who treated Georgina. There were 20 of them, working in 5 hospitals in Athens and Patras. The statements of the doctors and the mother contained contradictions. The doctors noted that something unusual had happened to the child. Initially, they suspected heart problems, but later realized that everything was fine with her heart. The mother frequently complained about seizures and neurological issues, but during examinations, no grounds for such a diagnosis were found. The doctors diagnosed gastroenteritis and stress caused by the death of her younger sisters and discharged her. However, shortly thereafter, Georgina was hospitalized again with seizures. No one could explain what was truly happening to her. Thus, it was planned to transfer the child to another hospital for more detailed examination. But the girl died, although she appeared to be completely healthy. One of the nurses who cared for Georgina in the hospitals confirmed the doctor's testimonies. She also did not understand what had caused the death. The day before the tragedy, Georgina expressed her fears, saying she felt as if something was about to explode in her stomach. The girl was worried about the deaths of her sisters, Melina and Iris, and voiced concerns that something similar could happen to her. Rula and Manos temporarily united, denying their guilt in the children's deaths. They waited for several interviews to dispel any doubts. In their words, they emphasized that everything happened suddenly. She tried to breathe but couldn't, the mother recalled about Melina. Toxicology tests revealed no abnormalities, the father said about Iris. The doctor said that the older daughter had no heart problems, he added, referring to Georgina's sudden death. However, the investigation continued. It turned out that Rula was present with the children in all cases of their deaths. But the woman denied that this mattered. She said, "I am a mother, and I was always there with them. Why does this raise such questions? Don't talk nonsense." The father blamed the doctors, not understanding how all the tests could be normal, yet the child suddenly died. Thus, he believed that the treatment had been ineffective. The toxicological examinations conducted after the girls' deaths turned out to be clean, finding no abnormalities, although they were done following the standard procedure, checking only the most common substances. Therefore, they decided to conduct additional tests that are usually not performed. As mentioned earlier, in the second case of a child's death, Rula called for an ambulance too late, but it also turned out that in the first case of the middle daughter's death, Melina, she did not seek help right away either. The woman called the nurses only after 35 minutes, by which time the body had already begun to cool. Why did the woman wait so long? The coroner noted in his report that there were small scratches on Melina's nose. Could they indicate a struggle? Additional tests showed that Georgina had an astonishing concentration of ketamine in her body, 6 times the normal amount for anesthesia. This substance is not sold in pharmacies and is hard to obtain. Its presence in the body could not have been accidental. Ketamine was not used during treatment. It turned out that this drug had been administered to Georgina 20 minutes before her death. But who could have done this if the medics did not? The last visit of medical personnel to the girl occurred about an hour before her death. The mother was the only person in the room when her older daughter died. Therefore, she became the main suspect in the murder. Later, the bodies of the 2 younger girls were exhumed. They showed no traces of ketamine. However, according to the forensic experts' conclusions dated June 20th, 2022, both girls, 3-year-old Melina and 6-month-old Iris, died of asphyxiation, and their deaths were ruled as homicides. A bloody handkerchief was found next to Iris's body, which had been removed from the home. Rula repeatedly asked for the handkerchief to be returned, but she was denied. On Wednesday, March 30th, 2022, when 33-year-old Rula Pisperigu was at her home in Patras with her sister, police officers came to them and arrested her. Rula, having a medical education, was capable of obtaining the prohibited substance. She consciously behaved in such a way that investigators discovered she had attended criminology courses several years ago. Her sister Dimitra refused to believe in Rula's possible guilt, stating, "I don't believe that Rula could harm her daughters if their deaths weren't caused by natural causes. If someone is responsible for this, they must be punished." Dimitra claimed that she did not hear anything suspicious during Iris's death. However, acquaintances described Rula as a cold, soulless person capable of cruel acts. During the investigation, the detective stumbled upon a note in the older daughter's notebook that read, "Mom, you are evil." Neighbors also testified that Rula had beaten her older daughter when she was a baby, and they reported this to the police. As a result, a complaint was forwarded to social services, which began to monitor the family, making periodic visits for checks. In Rula's phone, investigators found a message she sent the day before Georgina's death that read, "You will see what will happen tomorrow." This became important evidence of her involvement in the tragedy. After her arrest, when her husband learned of all the evidence against her, he became convinced of her guilt and filed for divorce. He was shocked by Rula's actions and could not understand why she had done such things. Manos recalled that during Georgina's death, Rula was pregnant again, but he suspected that the child was not his, as they had not had intimate relations for a long time. After Georgina's death, the woman quickly terminated this pregnancy. Manos believed that Rula might have been cheating on him with another man to provoke his jealousy. He also doubted that their children, Melina and Iris, were his. Upon learning of the divorce, Rula was filled with rage. She wrote to a friend expressing her desire to cast a spell on her husband so he wouldn't leave her. The woman was in a state of deep depression. 2 weeks before Georgina's death, Manos suggested that Rula file for divorce, which prompted her to seek help from fortune tellers in an attempt to keep her husband, but this proved ineffective. Questions arose regarding potential motives for her actions. Initially, the possibility that Rula was suffering from Munchausen syndrome by proxy was considered, characterized by intentionally inducing illnesses in children or fabricating such conditions to receive medical attention. However, this theory was not substantiated. It later emerged that Manos had a mistress. Rula was aware of her husband's infidelity and his thoughts about divorce. In her desire to keep her husband, she may have decided to attract attention or seek revenge. Rula's sister disagreed with this interpretation, claiming she had advised Rula to divorce Manos due to problems in their marriage, but Rula herself did not want that because of the children. The sister did not believe Rula could commit such horrific acts. A psychiatrist who spoke with Rula concluded that her thoughts were solely focused on her husband. She was obsessed with him and felt intense jealousy toward other women. She viewed her children as an extension of herself, without recognizing their fundamental needs. After her arrest, a crowd of about 500 people gathered outside Rula's home, demanding the death penalty for her for the murder of 3 children. At the time of the protest, Rula's mother, sister, and other relatives were in the house. Handwritten slogans appeared on the apartment windows saying, "Death to child murderers." A note was found on the wall, written on gauze with a mysterious text. "I should have let you die. Sorry, my relatives. I didn't know. I saved a murderer. Sorry, I can't believe this." The identity of the person who left this note remains unknown, but it is assumed that the handwriting belonged to a woman. The trial is ongoing. Currently, Rula Pisperigu is being held in a solitary confinement cell with all the amenities. She is isolated from other inmates for security reasons, as there are fears that she may attempt suicide. Rula has been charged with the murders of 3 children, but she continues to deny her guilt. Rula insists that she is a victim of circumstances who has lost her children, husband, and freedom, and she is convinced that this is merely a mistake. She hopes for acquittal, so she can return to a normal life and restore her relationship with Manos. However, her ex-husband is trying to avoid any contact with her. He is currently dating another woman, and they are planning a future together, including marriage and children. This tragic story raises numerous questions about human nature, the boundaries of love and hate, as well as the dark corners of the soul that can emerge at the most unexpected moments. The case of Rula Pisperigu reminds us of the importance of paying attention to our surroundings, understanding the emotional state of those around us, and not ignoring warning signs. What may appear as ordinary relationships on the surface can conceal deep-seated issues that, if left unaddressed, can lead to horrific consequences. In our world, where stress and emotional difficulties can destroy families, we must seek help and support to prevent such tragedies. This story also emphasizes how vital it is to listen and respond to the needs of our loved ones. Perhaps Rula had her own truth, but can her actions be justified? This is an unanswered question that leaves us contemplating justice, punishment, and compassion. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, where you will find even more captivating detective stories uncovered by me. I also invite you to share your thoughts about this narrative in the comments, as your opinion is important to me.